Good evening and warm welcome to Power News, your window to the power sector. I'm Juhi Rajput. First of all, let me bring you the quick updates from the power sector. Former President APJ Abdul Kalam has stressed on the need for making India energy independent by 2030. Delivering the 28th convocation address of the TAPI Management Institute in Manipal, he said India should focus on renewable energy sources such as solar and wind power to achieve this. He stressed that rather than focusing on energy security, it is essential to focus on energy independence. Both sides of electricity bills that consumers receive this month will mention that there are no subsidy benefits to any consumer base from April 1st. Delhiites, particularly small consumers, have been getting government-aided subsidies in their electricity bills since September 2003. But will have to watch their consumption from this month, as no subsidies means up to a 50% hike in tariff for those who consumed power till 400 units. Power tariffs in Delhi are set to rise after the general elections once Delhi Electricity Regulatory Commission is ready with the order. The regulator has already indicated that DISCOMs will be given about Rs 8,000 crore revenue gap in 8 equal installments starting with the current financial year. Maharashtra, Haryana, Punjab and Gujarat are likely to approach the Electricity Tribunal, challenging an order by the regulator allowing utilities Tata Power and Adani Power to charge higher rates. The four states received approvals from their respective cabinets to challenge the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission's decision before the Appellate Tribunal for Electricity. The CERC in February allowed Tata Power and Adani Power to charge higher tariffs and recover areas of over Rs 1,150 crore. The Central Bureau of Investigation on Wednesday handed over closure reports of 20 preliminary inquiries in the coal scam cases to the Central Vigilance Commission for scrutiny. Whether these could be closed or charge sheets could be filed. The delay in handing over the files was due to completion of legal formalities and whether any of the documents was required for any other case being probed by the agency. The CBI has so far registered 18 FIRs in connection with its probe in the coal allocation scam. And now the news of the week. Adani Power, which overtook Tata Power as the nation's largest private sector electricity producer, plans to go slow on capacity addition as uncertainties over fuel supply, weak financial health of state distributors and delays in environmental approvals have prevented power companies from announcing new projects. Adani Power last week commissioned the fourth 660 megawatt unit of its Tiroda project in Maharashtra, which took the Gujarat-based company's total installed capacity to 8,620 megawatt. Adani Power has accounted for 15% of the 17,000 megawatt of capacity added by developers in India during 2013-14. The company is hopeful of maintaining its leadership position in the sector, but it won't be announcing any projects for now. Despite incurring Rs 3,000 crore of losses during the first 3 quarters of the just ended fiscal year, Adani Power has been supplying power regularly to distribution utilities. Many of India's state power distributors are in bad health and are unable to make regular payments for the power they buy. Developers are also badly hit by fuel shortages, mainly of coal and gas that fire most of the country's generation units.
If you see, many of the projects in power sector are stalled because of lack of fuel, either in terms of coal or for that matter gas. And many projects, the companies, in fact private companies who have invested their money in it, they are not able to start their projects because of lack of fuel. So this is a very, very serious concern, because if we need to attract investment in the sector, if we really want the Indian economy to grow, in that case we'll make sure that these companies get the fuel supply on time.
Out of country's 1.63 lakh megawatt of installed thermal power generation capacity, private sector accounts for 50,000 megawatt. Another leader in the private sector, Jindal Steel and Power, which is currently in the process of completing power projects announced earlier, has decided not to add any capacity until fuel supply and environmental clearances are secured.
Why would an investor invest in any sector when there is no certainty of fuel? You invest billions of dollars in commissioning the projects, and when you don't have fuel to really start it, then there is no point making these kind of investments. And this we have seen in last 3-4 years. I mean, you have seen that 3-4 years before, the sector was looking very, very promising. So we had many private players who have invested a lot of money in this sector. So suddenly, when their projects were commissioned, when they were ready to kick off, we have seen that suddenly they don't have fuel. So this kind of uncertainty will only jeopardize the sector further.
Many of the projects had reached a stage from where it was not possible for the developers to abandon the plans. So the only option for the developer was to commission these power projects. Only those projects are coming up now.
Until the private sector is really ensured that they are getting the fuel on time, this sector has bleak chances of growth, and which is not good for our country. We have to make sure that we have to supply the fuel to these investors, so that we can get maximum power from these projects.
Most of the capacity being added at the moment is from the projects which were started 3 to 4 years ago, at which time the industry looked very promising. At present, no new significant power projects are coming up in the private sector. And the trend would continue until there is more certainty about the future of power sector, as also availability of fuel and transmission capacity is assured. Here we'll take a short break, but there is a lot more on the other side. Stay tuned.
Indian Energy Exchange, India's premier power trading platform.
From manufacturing of energy cables to EHV installations to renewable energy solutions to retail energy products, our technology energizes lives. Ravin, energizing lives.
भरोसा, हिफाजत, मजबूती। कौन सजाएगा तुम्हारा घर विश्वास के साथ? किसकी परछाई में महफूज रहोगे तुम? कौन रखेगा तुम्हारा घरौंदा सलामत? एक नाम जो देता आया है भारत की हर इमारत को बुनियाद, अब उसी पे खड़ा होगा आपका मकान। जिंदल स्टील एंड पावर पेश करते हैं जिंदल पैंथर, सच्चे सरिये की पहचान, पैंथर का निशान।
Power Grid Corporation of India, the central transmission utility, world-class integrated global transmission company with dominant leadership in emerging power market, ensuring reliability, safety and economy. Power Grid, building a smarter grid.
Welcome back. The Indian Railways has told Coal India subsidiaries that it does not have adequate freight wagons to carry coal for captive power producers, in a move that will hit a majority of captive power projects in the country. Lack of rakes would adversely affect over 70% of 50,000 megawatts of captive power production capacity installed by industrial houses. To talk further on this subject, we have with us Mr. Rahul Sharma, Chairman, Indian Captive Power Producers Association. Mr. Sharma, captive power plants have been growing at a fairly aggressive pace in the country. In March 2013, the total installed capacity of captive plants in the country was about 39,375 megawatt. During the first year of the 12th plan, it added around 3,925 megawatt. How do you see the prospects for further growth?
Well, if you look at the CPP today, the capacity install of the CPP is close to 40,000, which in turn contributes to 28% of the overall capacity installed in India. And secondly, if we talk about the 12th plan or maybe the growth, there is already 7,000 to 8,000 capacity which has been going to come by say next March 2017. And looking this kind of potential and the growth, surely there is a huge investment is taking place in this.
Currently, 382 captive power plants applications for 40,000 megawatt capacity are pending with the government. Fuel scarcity is hampering investment of rupees 2 lakh crore in captive projects. Coal supply to captive projects is almost nil in the 12th plan. Captive plants are operating at very low capacity or sitting idle. And this is hitting industries hard as 60% of their power requirement is met by captive plants. What would you like to say?
The very basic fundamental issue is that CPP face the discrimination between CPP versus IPP. And that's how, if you see that in turn, whether we talk about the coal, there's no coal allocation for the CPP. When we talk about the linkage in the in the 12th plan as well as the 13th plan, there's no consideration for the CPP. On top of it, we see that there is like CPP are running on a 50% trigger level, and there is no fresh linkage. And I see that today we are at a big risk in terms of CPP. And
the Chaturvedi panel suggested that the Coal Ministry should provide coal to CPPs already commissioned, including those likely to start by March 2015, by making minor adjustments in supplies to other consumers. How much has this recommendation been an acceptance for supplying coal to CPPs from Coal India?
As a CPP association and as an industry, we surely welcome if there is any consideration for providing a coal to the CPPs. And surely, the second point which I would like to mention here is that I think we must look the past. There was a huge investment has been done by the CPPs earlier, and that time they have done with it. That time kind of policies, assurance, and the investment has been taken place already. Today, if they ignore or not to provide the coal, I think it's not maybe the right spirit in terms of to do the justice with them, and it will impact on the nation growth.
Recently, the Indian Railways has said that it does not have adequate freight wagons to carry coal for captive power producers, in a move that will hit a majority of captive power projects in the country. What do you have to say?
When you need an uninterrupted power supply, any stoppage or any gap can have a huge impact on the process-based industry. Therefore, our request to the railway to find a solution and do not create any kind of disruption towards the supply, because in value chain, if anything stops, it's finally impact at the end product, and that's how we look. They should find a solution to continue the supply of rakes for the coal supplier.
It is claimed that Coal Ministry consider captive power plants non-priority coal consumers. Coal-based captive power plants would add about 10,000 megawatt of capacity during the 12th plan period and would require about 20 million tons of the fuel. In present scenario, how much this looks feasible to you?
The CPP installed capacity has not been utilized properly. I would say that it might be utilized less than 50% today. Adding up this will be another challenge, and since already this kind of investment is already taken place, our request to the government would be that at least consider them CPP to give them a coal block and help government. Government should help these industries to fasten the process and operationalize the coal block. That is one. Second would be that again, we would say that there must be some consideration and some way out to provide them a coal, because you can't keep the asset idle.
The Coal Ministry wants an additional cess on the quantum of captive coal produced. Do you think the recent cess proposed on captive coal mines would hit steel and cement firms?
Today, any industry, especially in the today they are working at a very thin margin. Any addition on the cost side, it will make them non-competitive in terms of cost per se. Secondly, this kind of proposal, I believe that because today industry is already having a lot of challenges, not having a coal, and when you talk about CPP, they are already paying extra cost to the government, and when costs will go up and you become unviable. So they should discourage this kind of proposal till the time things improve and change.
Thanks, Mr. Sharma, for joining us in Power News.
Thanks a lot.
It's time for another short break. Keep watching Power News.
Indian Energy Exchange, India's premier power trading platform.
Jal, jal, jal. जल जल जल
जल से जल तक, मेगावाट से मेगावाट्स तक। SJVN Limited.
Power Finance Corporation, the most preferred financial institution, providing affordable and competitive products and services with efficient and internationally integrated sourcing. PFC, partnering the reforms in the Indian power sector.
Welcome back. To cater the need for a marketplace where buyers and sellers could meet and trade power with genuine price discovery, power exchanges in India were conceptualized in 2005. The stepping stone for establishing such an exchange was laid in the Electricity Act 2003, which introduced the concept of non-discriminatory open access through provisions for promoting competition in the market. In 2008, India's first energy exchange, IEX, commenced its operations. The IEX is the leading energy trading platform with a 90% market share. Over the past 5 years, the number of participants on the exchange has increased to 2,600, comprising of 27 states, 5 union territories and 500 generators. To talk further on energy exchange, we have with us Mr. S.N. Goyal, MD and CEO, IEX. Good evening, Mr. Goyal, and welcome to Power News.
Good evening.
Mr. Goyal, how have power exchanges in India contributed to the growth of power sector in past few years? And as far as the trading is concerned, how has been the trend at IEX in recent times?
With the inception of power exchanges in 2008, trading utilities got an option to purchase power on day-ahead basis. This is the next best option to the real-time market. Earlier, they were overdrawing power from the grid, endangering the grid, creating a lot of grid disturbance. But now they are able to purchase power from the power exchange and providing a lot of reliability and security to the grid. Prices discovered on the power exchange are done in a very transparent manner, and they have given signals in the sector for promoting investment. We have seen a growth rate of more than 50% per annum. Today we have more than 3,000 participants registered on the power exchange. All state distribution companies, trading companies, IPPs and more than 2,200 open access consumers are actively engaged in sale and purchase of power through the power exchange. The prices discovered on the power exchange are today in fact the national benchmark and a reference for bilateral trades.
Next, I'd like to know how power exchanges help to enhance market efficiency and provide a reliable platform for trading of power.
IEX has contributed significantly to enhancement of power market. In fact, it has enabled utilization of power at locations where it is valued the most. The prices discovered on the exchange are very competitive, as I mentioned earlier, and people have developed confidence in these prices. A lot of generators are now selling power through the exchange. It has ensured optimum utilization of the generation capacity in the country. It has provided a transparent platform for trading of power to the utilities, where scheduling, bidding and financial settlements are done through the automated process. Our Six Sigma electronic platform has ensured reliable and error-free operation since inception in June 2008.
India's renewable energy generation capacity addition has witnessed tremendous growth over the past 2 decades for both grid and off-grid applications. To enable states or utilities to fulfill their renewable purchase obligations, RECs can be bought or sold on the power exchanges to make up for the shortfall or the surplus in renewable energy in the energy mix. How has been the demand at IEX?
Unfortunately, today the REC certificates are in oversupply. The demand is much less. Distribution companies are not buying. There is a large inventory. Today we have more than 50% of the non-solar RECs in the inventory, which is about 43 lakhs, and almost 1 lakh solar certificates are in the inventory. If we have to ensure sale of RECs, ensure promotion of renewable energy, what is required is strict compliance enforcement on the utilities for purchase of the REC certificates, so that they meet their RP obligations and renewable power can be encouraged.
The Indian transmission system has several high congestion corridors that constrain the flow of power. Do you think power exchanges have provided a positive signal for capacity enhancement and augmentation in transmission, both at the intrastate and interstate level?
There are regular market splitting mechanisms, instances on the IEX. Today we have Chhattisgarh W3 bid area, where there is a lot of generation capacity available, but we are not able to evacuate power because of the transmission congestion. There is scarcity of power, deficit of power in southern region. Power is available in rest of India. We are not able to transmit power to southern region because of the transmission congestion. In fact, we are operating whole of the country in 12 different regions, 12 different markets based on the transmission congestion seen by these markets at different point of time. So as a result of the market splitting, the rates for sale of power in the different markets are different. This has clearly provided a signal to the transmission planning people for setting up transmission capacities in these areas so that there can be free flow power across the country and uniform market across the country.
India's power sector regulator CERC has suggested establishing a South Asian power trading market to help ease acute electricity shortage facing many nations in the region. How do you see the idea given the fact that the demand for infrastructure and in particular electricity is growing rapidly all across South Asia? Also, what challenges you see on this front?
In India, we have almost 234 gigawatt capacity, which is maximum among the SAARC countries, and we can utilize this capacity to its optimum level by doing trading with the neighboring countries. Transmission interconnections are very few. That has been the impediment in promoting the trading between the SAARC countries. In the recent past, few developments have taken place. With Bhutan, we are importing 1400 megawatt power, and transmission and generation system is under construction for further trading of 3000 megawatt of power with Bhutan. With Bangladesh also, recently 500 megawatt HVDC terminal has been commissioned and power trading has started. With Nepal, there are few 132 kV links. About 130 to 150 megawatt of power exchange is taking place. Another 400 kV double circuit line is under construction. With the commissioning of that in next 1 or 2 years, I think we can further do trading of 400 to 500 megawatt power. Construction of transmission links between Pakistan and Sri Lanka are under discussion, and I am sure trading of power between these countries and other SAARC countries will definitely promote an efficient market, and it will be a win-win situation for all countries.
Thanks, Mr. Goyal, for joining us in Power News. With this, we come to an end of this episode of Power News. Keep sending us your suggestions and views at info@indianpowernews.com or call us on 011-405-60706. I'll be back next week with more news and updates. Till then, goodbye and take care.